All right, everyone, welcome to another 90 Day Fiance Recap. Chad here. 90 Day Fiance is a reality show starring couples, real life couples. One's from the US, the other from another country. We watch them navigate the long distances, the tiffs and that happen in relationships, along with cultural barriers, language boundaries, and the whole legal process of getting married when you're from another country, the K1 visa, and you have a 90-day process to do that. This is the original 90 Day Fiance. They literally have 90 days to get their stuff together so that they can become man and wife. So, Juan and Jessica here. Juan wakes up. Jessica's making some soggy eggs for him. I think he likes soggy eggs. But now he's like, well, how's the kids and all that? Because they have no privacy in the new place now that he's in the US. So she's like, well, don't worry about the kids because now we're alone and we can snuggle. And we know what snuggle means. So he's really happy that they're alone and they can have their alone time together. And they were hugging, and she was like, oh, I forgot how it feels. And he's like, now he's happy. He was really happy after they had their time together. She mentioned that the baby sleeps in the bed with them. And I'm like, or is it just the same room? Clear that up for me if you can. But like, why is the baby in the same bed? I could see the baby in the same room in the crib, but in the same bed. No wonder you guys have like zero time for any type of intimacy. So she takes him on a tour around the town, and she shows actually how she grew up in. I think it's her parents' house still. And he's like, "Oh, this looks like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air house," and it kind of did. Then she shows him other parts of the town. They only have like 6 restaurants. It's a really small town. And he's like, yes, come to Wyoming. I forgot the name of the actual town. But he does like a bad commercial for the town saying, oh, they only have 6 restaurants and this and that. So nobody probably wants to go to this town. And I'm sure he doesn't want to be there either. But she's like, hey, let's look on the bright side here. I live in a small town and you lived on a small community on the cruise ship. So can't you see how similar it is? He was like, nah, there's really no similarity. She can't see it. But yeah, she's just trying to make things seem better. So for the evening, they're gonna go out with the friends, and the friends they be grilling. And that one friend, Megan, who was on one of the other spin-offs of this show, is gonna like grill him again. So she says, my friends are really questionative. And I'm like, I don't think that's a word. But anyway, he don't like Megan. Megan is the one. Now, he says that Megan can be very negative, and since he's gonna be meeting some of her other friends, she can be quite embarrassing in front of these new friends that he's gonna meet as well. So he's not happy about it. Then they're at the bar, but I guess they call it hole in the wall. He doesn't understand the terminology of what does that mean. Whatever the case, they're in that bar, and he meets up with everyone, and there's an intimate area of the cow. I guess we'll just call it cow nuts. That's exactly what they said. They eat that, and they say, "Oh, we all eat it." And when he tried it, he said, it tastes like chicken nuggets. It's like, yeah, they were all happy and excited. And he was like, yeah, I don't want to really eat any more of this. And I'm not sure why you guys are excited about eating it yourself. So now Megan, when she was hugging him, everybody hugged him. She gave him like one of the best hugs. But I guess she was trying to prepare him for the grilling that she was going to do. She grills him about the alleged cheating while he was working on the cruise. And she's like, I want honesty. You owe this to me. I'm like, you're not his wife. Like, the way she's talking to him, like, she is his wife directly. I'm like, don't you think the wife should be acting this way? Excuse me. So he's like, well, that's my private life, and that doesn't really concern you. We talked about it. Me and my wife, we handled it. Like, why are you still, it's been some time ago. Why are you in our business? And so she's like, well, you owe this to me. And then so he finally just says, okay, I did cheat. And she's like, well, you made me wait over a year to tell me this. Like, she was so broken up, like he owed her everything. And I'm like, who is this Megan? She needs to be pushed aside. She even, I think, has a husband or somebody she's seeing herself. Why is she so invested in this man's life? I thought that was creepy and crazy, but I also thought it was foolish for Juan to actually confess to her like he owed her that. I guess she kept pushing enough where he was like, okay, I'm just gonna say it. And she's like, well, how do we know you're gonna be invested with her and be a good person in her life? He was like, well, I did leave my whole life to come be with her. Isn't that proof enough that I care about her and I want to be with her? And I'm like, why did you confess? I was like, when you said this is my private life, I wish you would have just kept it there because that was none of her business. You know, sometimes friends and family and people get involved in your relationships and they don't need to be in it like that. So I feel like he could have just kept it that same way. And even when they were about to go meet the friends, I think Juan was like, hey, Jessica, can you protect me? Because I know your friends are going to be some type of way, especially Megan. But she was like, hey, let's just go do this. Like, she had no thought of protecting him whatsoever. And I know when I was seeing someone, they wanted me to protect them from my mom's grilling. And I said, Mom, can you just be easy on the person? And, you know, she didn't listen to me and she did what she did. And I was looked at as the person to blame. I don't know if that's going to happen with Juan and Jessica. But in the previews, it appears that Jessica was like, hey, I'm not perfect either. And then Megan was like, yeah, but that was your ex. And I'm like, what's going on here? Were you guys both cheating on each other? Is this going to just be something that you guys do? And is Megan going to get in an uproar? She gets in an uproar over him, but you knew she was possibly cheating with her ex. I don't know what that's all going to be like. Maybe they are leading me on with the scenario, but yeah, something needs to happen with Megan or not happen. She may need to be excluded from the friendship or just have a one-sided friendship with Jessica and not Juan because she seems a little too invested. So, okay, we're going now to Greg and Joan. So Greg is up. I think I'm not sure if the breakfast was made yet at this part, but everybody's waking up together. It's kind of like the episode the next day after you get there, the wake up episode, I guess. I don't know. But he asked her, did you have a comfy sleep? He says, like, it's the best feeling ever waking up to her, and he can't wait to squeeze her backside. Or should I say badonk? I don't know what terminology I should use to be family friendly here. But, you know, they have a lot of restrictions on what you can say on certain platforms. Even though I'm not that type of person to say a lot of stuff, but like basic words sometimes I'm like, why can't I say that? That's what it is. But anyway, while they are kind of canoodling and cozying up to each other in the bed, they're interrupted by the sound of his mom, Lucille, cutting the grass. And then he looks outside and waves at me like, hey, Mom. That was so weird. I was like, that's like a weird sitcom moment where he's at home in his old room and then he's waving down at his mom while his girlfriend's in the bed with him. It was weird. He said basically they didn't have any intimacy that night. She was really tired, so I guess they just slept in the same bed together. And she feels a certain type of way of being in the mom's house. She's like, I feel like I have to be perfect here at somebody else's house. I can't wait till we get our own house. And he's like, well, okay, yeah, that can be kind of expensive. It's the prices in your country are different than the prices in my country, which is very true, but the cost of living and all that stuff is different as well. But anyway, he was off to the side with the producer saying, you know, I do want to move out, but I would miss my mom a lot if I moved, because he was smelling her good breakfast, morning cooking as well, because he's a very spoiled, probably a spoiled man child. He's kind of letting us know that anyway. So mom's is like, hey, where's Joan? Oh, she's in the shower. He's like, again? Didn't she take a shower last night? How many showers is she gonna take? Can't she just jump in the pool? Excuse me, I have a couple notifications that came through. Sorry. Can't she just jump in the pool? You know, the water bill's gonna be real high. Um, and then she starts talking about how Greg is around the house, you know, to the producers. Like, he really doesn't help around the house. Really, I guess she's trying to say financially because all the bills are on her. But she said he does bring a lot of food in. So does he do the food shopping? I don't know, but he doesn't do anything else. Then they go out to the patio and have the breakfast. He helped a little bit. I don't think he did the full breakfast. This is the way he came downstairs, like something smells good. Like mom already got food started. So then the dog is like on Joan's leg while she's sitting there, and she's not happy with it. And like, oh, how do you feel about dogs? What mom says. And I think her name's Lucille. He's like, well, dogs are usually outside. We're not really used to having dogs around. And then she's like, well, how many showers do you take a day? And I'm like, wow, she's really getting in personal with this person's hygiene. But I mean, it is her house. At first, I thought she said 3. Guys, correct me if I'm wrong. Did she say 3 or 2 showers? Because later it turned to 2, but I could have swore she said 3 at first, unless she's not sure of her numbers in the U.S. But she speaks very good English as far as I see. So, and then she explains to the producers why she has to take 2 showers, because it's really hot in her country. And, you know, you have to take one to be fresh in the beginning of the day. And by the time the end of the day comes, you're so sweaty. You have to get your other shower in so you can have a fresh night's sleep, which is so understandable. And she says as long as the showers aren't like 10 minutes or more or something like that. I don't know. I think a 10-minute shower is average, 15 to the most. You guys let me know. Everybody's different. Anyway, she says the way that Lucille takes care of Greg so much. Joan says she loves Greg, but she's not here to look after him. If she's going to be his wife, he needs to man up and, you know, leave his mom's place. So they're at the supermarket for the first trip, and she thinks the supermarket looks like a mall. It's very different than from her country, but the prices are so high and everything's very well organized, but everything's very expensive. It looks beautiful, but looks expensive. So she's like, do you have a plan for a budget or anything? What's our plan? Because, you know, she's ready to move out of mom's house, and it's only been like the 2nd day. But I totally understand where she's coming from, right? So then he's like, oh, I think he told his mother earlier too, you know, I turned down that state job, right? And she's like, you know, they were like, well, why'd you do that? And he was like, well, I just really didn't want to do that. But now he's here with Joan talking to her about it in the supermarket. He's like, it's just something I really didn't feel like I wanted to do. And he's like, well, also you were coming and I wanted to spend time with you. And she's like, well, I need you to do some things to make me feel secure here. And having a job would have probably been a good thing. And even mom was like, you turn down a state job, like that's really a good gig. And most people know, if you have a city or state job, that it is a really good gig. And it's got a lot of protection. It's got benefits and all these things. So why did he turn that down? For me, I say, okay, I understand your bride-to-be was coming, but you should have just let them know, hey, my girlfriend / fiance is coming. I think it's fiance because they have 90 days to get married. Can I start in like a couple weeks? Can you give me a couple weeks to start? That would have been smarter. I know they have 90 days to get to know each other, but I think that if he was already working in his job scenario, which they're already going to have to do anyway, then that she would have to get used to what his schedule will be like and etc. So give him a nice 2 weeks to kind of get acclimated, figure out how they're going to do things, and then he can start with it after those 2 weeks. Why did he not do something like that? That would have made a whole bunch of sense, right? He's not making a lot of sense. I think he just doesn't want to do that. And everybody wants to do their dream job, but we've all had to pay our dues. We've all had to do jobs that we didn't want to do. And especially if you're going to have a nice, cushy state job, especially if you're about to get married and you're supposed to be the breadwinner of the house, it makes full common sense to take that job. Everybody doesn't get that opportunity. Some people would kill for this opportunity, and that's just figuratively speaking, to get some type of job like that. So I think that was a bad move on his part, and especially if he doesn't have a backup plan as to, oh, I'm gonna do this instead. It doesn't appear that he does. So we get to Sean and Aaliyah. They were in 90 Day Love in Paradise. And Sean and Aaliyah, but Aaliyah used to be Douglas. And, one of their issues is that Aaliyah used to be Douglas. And when they filed for the K1 visa, Aaliyah's name was Douglas. So now Douglas is Aaliyah. And will they be confused during this K1 interview? That is the question. Are they discriminative? That's also the question. But before we get to all of that part, they give us a little insight to what's going on now. And Sean looks like he's standing out there. They're having a nice outdoor wedding, but something's going wrong. And Aaliyah's saying, Aaliyah's not showing up. And he's fussing at Aaliyah for the fact that she didn't show up. And Aaliyah's like, I didn't expect things to go like this. I didn't expect things to fall apart. So then we see this, and then we cut back 3 months later to see, how we got to this point, right? So Aaliyah, who used to be Douglas, tells us about their transgender story as they're trying on wedding dresses. And then we hear about Sean's life, who's worked in Hollywood as a hairstylist for 35 years. He tells us before he was with Douglas, who is now Aaliyah, that he was married. He had kids. They had a 14-year-long marriage. And he just, at some points, like, they're good now with each other, but they separated. And after that, he now identifies as a gay man. And but he said, he was good with being married for 14 years and having kids, and that was a part of his life. And now this is a new part. So, and he was a celebrity stylist, so he's worked with all these different celebrities. He has a lot of memorabilia from some of the movie sets he worked on. So I'm thinking this guy pretty much has a lot of money. So that's good for him, and maybe good for Aaliyah. Now Douglas, who's now Aaliyah, he has to say, because when they met, he was Douglas. Then he became Aaliyah as they were with each other in a relationship. And basically, Sean feels like his first love died, who was Douglas, and now is reborn as Aaliyah. But he mourns the loss of who he thought he was going to be with. But he still wants to be with Aaliyah. I know I'm probably confusing you how I keep using these names interchangeably, but it is what it is. This is the situation and scenario. So now he has a love affair with his dog. No, but really, the dog comes out. He's like, well, now I'm going to have to crate train my dog because the dog's been sleeping in the bed with me, so I have to get the dog ready. I said I wasn't going to do this, but I have to get the dog ready to be crate trained and not in the bed so that Aaliyah can take the dog's place. So they talk about the visa interview again, like I said, because they filed the paperwork as Douglas, but now Douglas is Aaliyah. So Aaliyah is now talking to a friend on the beach in their country, which I think is real. And it's basically talking about how hard it's been to transition. I don't think they're fully transitioning. I'm not really sure, but people look at them funny. They get cat calls. I guess people are trying to make fun of them in their transitional state. And then the concern is that when they again go to get that visa, that the people are doing the paperwork, will they understand the situation? Will they understand what's going on? Or will they just deny them because, hey, you're a totally different person. You're not even male anymore and you have a different name. So how do we recognize you, and how's this going to work? And also, Sean's issue is there discriminatory people as well, because they've tried to get other licenses for other things, and they've been denied many times for different things. So will they be denied for this? So Aaliyah's dilemma is, hey, should I go back to Douglas just so I could get my visa and all the paperwork can be match up to who I am, or should I go as my new self, Aaliyah? So we get to see on that day, excuse me, when Aaliyah goes to the interview, basically dressed as a woman. It feels like a boss babe at the time, wearing somewhat of like, to me, I feel like Madonna with the ponytail hair pulled back, except they have dark hair, and wearing that outfit like from the 90s with like the belly shirt, but then there's also like a pink blazer that's on there, and Sean is like, well, that's the most clothes I've seen you wear ever, so maybe this is a good thing, maybe they'll accept you, we don't know. But Aaliyah makes the final decision to go as themselves and see what happens at this interview. So we're gonna see next time what happens. Now let's go to Maddie and Stevie. Now they arrive at Stevie's house and it's dark, it's late, and he's like, this feels like a scary movie. They're in the country, he's used to being a city boy. When he goes in there, he sees that she has boob art everywhere. She says she paints nudes. So he's intimidated and upset by seeing all of these boob pictures. He's like, well, I knew she's told me about this, but I didn't know that they were going to be everywhere. So they do the house tour here, and the cat comes in. This is the first time he's ever been around a cat, so he has issues with cats. And for his country, again, it's very similar to how Joan feels. Cats aren't in the house. Cats are outside. And he has a story where his mom got sick from a cat. And, that had something connected to his birth or something. I think that's right. But his mom got really sick from a cat, so she didn't want cats in the house or around at all, basically. So now he's kind of freaked out by cats. He thinks they're germ monsters and you should never touch them. But he does anyway, just because, just to try it, I guess, because he wants to do that for his woman. So he says all these boob portraits. Is she into women? Is she bisexual? Has he been catfished? Because she talks a lot about how she's not into men, but she's into women. So, I mean, maybe you have been catfished, but hey, it sounds like she kind of told you that she was what she was. So you're not fully catfished. You probably should have listened to her, but hopefully that's not the case. If you're not happy with her being bisexual, hopefully she's able to commit just to you. Well, we'll see what happens with that. I don't know if it's going to come back up or not. So there's I think they wake up, or they're about to go to sleep anyway, and he sees a scary doll in the corner. Again, he feels like it's all the scary horror movies he's seen from America all in this house, right? He seems so demure and shy. I don't know, he's super shy and delicate dude. I've never seen a man like this. But he seems like he's scared about everything. And maybe partially because things in his country where there were so many restrictions, but I don't know. He just seems super soft to me. So they're driving through the city. I think that she's trying to show him around, just as I believe Jessica was showing Juan around. And she gets in the turn lane. It's like, oh, there's a turn lane. They don't have turn lanes or stop signs where I'm from. And that's pretty crazy. But, wow. That's all I can say. The place Hattiesburg he's like, well, they're walking around the town and there's barely anyone there, and there's all these little shops and stuff. He's like, Hattiesburg looks like a movie set. This just doesn't look real. He's like, if you go in there, it's probably nothing really in there at all. I don't know. I think he thinks his life is a movie. So then she breaks the news. Hey, my dad doesn't know anything about you. So he's gonna meet you now in a minute. And she's like, wait a minute, you didn't tell him anything about me besides, I know she initially finally told her dad about him, but he's like, you had a year, so this puts me in a position where I feel unsure about myself. I don't want to start this thing out with lies because, why did you not share any of this with your dad? Now, I've had a scenario similar to that when I was seeing someone, but I never met their parents, but we were going to get married. So that was an issue. Not only had I not met the parents weren't told that I existed. So I completely understand how Maddie feels, but at least she did finally tell the dad he existed. And she did tell her other family and friends and her mom. It's just that one relative I think she was really afraid to talk to about the situation. But I understand where you're coming from, Maddie, and the position that you're in. No, it's not fair. He's wondering, are you even sure about me? If you couldn't tell your dad about me, how do I know you're even sure that you want to be with me? So I totally get it, Maddie. You're right on this one. All right, now let's go to Amani, Matt, and Ani. And I said her name right this time, as I think I butchered it pretty bad last time, multiple times. Ani, her name looks like Any. That's how her name is spelled, but it's said Ani. So they're now in her country at the Day of the Dead festival. Everyone's masquerading in masks and costumes. They're searching for Ani. Like, we can't wait to see her. Oh no, we must see her. And then Ani's like, oh, I can't wait to see them. Oh, I must see them. Really? Is it that deep? I think not. I think that you guys are just ready to have your little fun with each other that you've been missing. Anyway, when they see each other, they run to each other, they kiss. It's really almost like Matt isn't there, because Ani and Amani kiss, and then Matt kind of gets a secondhand kiss after that. And I'm like, I kind of feel like Matt is the third wheel. He's already the third wheel in this relationship. I can see it now. This is weird. Anyway, as down they're happy that they're all three together, they're missing third piece. Who has a missing third piece of their life? I don't know. Third is an odd number. Anyway, they're walking the streets together. They're both holding her backside, and it's so weird looking to me. And they're like in the festival, they met somebody and they were talking to this guy, and he's with his spouse, and they look like they're like an older couple, but they're both dressed in the Day of the Dead attire. And then, they say, hey, all three of us together, and the guy is like, bleep. Oh, wow, even this random guy is shocked and surprised. I'm like, in that country, I don't know if they're up for that. I mean, it doesn't matter what country you're in. Some countries seem like they're really open to things, but this guy was like shocked. And then I think Amani suggests, hey, maybe you and your person, this lady that's standing next to you, you can have a third. And she's like, she's shaking her head like, no way. Exactly. You guys are weird. There's like, okay, it's fun being a throuple, a three-time partner, but it's 3 times more complicated than any other relationship. Yeah. Let me sign up for this. It seems kind of creepy, even when they talk to them off to the side with the producers, talk to all 3 of them, they're always touching each other. And like, why are you touching each other constantly? You need so much physical attention like this. And they're like, well, it's not all about sex, but the first gift that they give her is, hey, look what we have for you. Amani pulls out some tiny little lingerie. Oh, but this relationship is not all about sex. Right, guys? And finally, our friends Mark and Mina. Here's some coffee, honey. Mark comes in there. She's still PO'd about the other day. He's trying to give her the coffee in the bed. She barely wants to even look or talk to him. He's trying to ignore that and trying to still be lovey-dovey. He fumbles and almost falls into the bed. That's what you get, Mark. Anyway, good morning. He reassures her. And he gives her this cappuccino. He's like, is it as good as France? She's like, nah, it's not really good. But I guess she drinks it anyway. And again, he reassures her everything's going to be fine. We're going to work this out as a family as far as the issue between the daughter and Mina and how she doesn't trust her and how she's saying they don't need to have another kid. She's all in their business. Whatever the case, Mina's upset about it, but she's like, hey, I guess we're going to try to work on it. So they meet with the neighbors. And, Mark, every other scene, Mark is picking up the little girl and throwing her up in the air. It's a lot of daddy-daughter love, which I love it. But to me, I feel like either Mark's playing with the little girl or she's just randomly running around. Like, it's like are you guys really properly parenting this child, or is she just like a fun toy for you guys? I'm not gonna try to put down Mina's care for her daughter, but I just don't see a lot of it. And I know it's for the show and they're probably taping the highlight moments. But yeah, it seems like the little girl's always running off by herself and like playing by herself. And then either Mark is throwing her in the air. And these are like the only two times I see this little girl. Does she even exist outside of those moments? Anyway, they're having a barbecue in the cold, which seems weird. And the neighbors come over, Nick and Cupcake Pat, and Bob and Martini Pat. There's too many Pats in this small town. And oh, they're like 50 or 60 years old. Of course they are. That's like around the same age as your boo, Mina. You should accept this. She's like 35. Anyway, one of the ladies is like, you're not in the city anymore. And, I felt a certain kind of way when I was in the woods. Like, because she totally sounds like she understands where Mina's coming from, being there, isolated, and not such an awesome spot. She's like, but, I found me some hobbies, started a garden. You say, you can crochet and, you can get a dog and all this. I'm like, okay. She's like, I don't need a dog. I have a kid anyway. It's like, I'm not going to crochet and garden. I'm not retired. She says it in French, and it was so cute how she said it in French. I love her French accent. She needs to do something with that. Voiceovers, I don't know, but I love the French. Anyway, one of the neighbors says that, I guess she starts talking to one of the neighbors about Jordan, their daughter, and how she has to try to cater to her. She's like, well, yeah, you do have to keep her happy. He's trying to keep her happy. And I'm like, why is this neighbor like on the side of the daughter? Is this like a body snatchers or something? Because she's like, they're like, do whatever Jordan says. Jordan's controlling everyone. It's like Mark is a people pleaser and he has to really make sure everybody's happy, but he doesn't realize if he makes her happy, then you're not going to be happy. If he makes you happy, then she's going to be happy. And, Mina's like, it's my body. Basically, it's my choice of what I want to do with my body if I want to have another baby. This daughter has no say for that. So that turned out pretty well, or not. But whatever the case, they still managed to have a good night together, spending the night together. I guess the little baby was not around for whatever. I don't know where they put her, but she wasn't there. I'm sorry. Again, like I said, that they're either playing with her or she's randomly running around by herself. I don't know where she went, but maybe one of the neighbors watched her for the night. So now the next day, they had a good night together and they were kind of flirty about it and talking about, and yeah, we had a good night. And Mark's body isn't too bad. I mean, it could tighten up a little bit, but he didn't need to wear that shirt in the hot tub because he was wearing a full shirt in the hot tub. You didn't need to, sir. Anyway, they're out on this hike, puts the baby on his back, and they're like, I think they have a picnic out there. I'm like, why are they doing barbecue and picnic things when it's cold and they have coats on? This is supposed to be for warm weather only. Do you guys have warm weather there? He's in New Hampshire? Like, they're doing stuff that you do in the summer when it's still cold. And that doesn't feel good to me. And neither does it for Mina. She's not really feeling this. He's opening the wine and cheese. And she's just not really happy about sitting in the forest having a picnic in the forest. Mark is like, I really feel some kind of way about me and you and my daughter. We're not getting along. You guys aren't getting along, and I really want this to work out. And he's like, I hope you ladies talk and all that. And she's basically like, it's not my duty to get your daughter together. That's your daughter. I mean, that's your responsibility. So, facts on facts. But Mina, she's gonna do what she does. I mean, she's mad at Mark, but he gets to woo his way back into whatever her heart, and she's gonna be mad at him, then she's gonna accept him, then she's gonna be mad. I mean, you kind of don't have a choice when you're in a country you've never been to and there's no one else there. So next time, there's gonna be throuple trouble, because I believe Ani reveals some information about what her and Matt did that Amani was not involved in, and she was shocked and surprised. So yes, there's gonna be throuple trouble next week, and Dad finally meets Maddie, and one of the things he asks is she gonna be wearing a jihad? And I'm like, dude, can somebody tell him it's not a jihad? Can somebody tell him he's gonna have someone in his life that's from another culture and he needs to learn what the different words are, because it's not a jihad? Anyway, thoughts, comments, questions, please tell him not to say that anymore. Email me at cbiztv@yahoo.com. That's cbiztv@yahoo.com, where we talk faith, love, and trends. This is Irene. We'll talk again. All the best. God bless.